Hey guys, this is Eliza and welcome back to a new video. So today is gonna be a long one. I'm wrapping up the month of January and I got 21 books read in January, which is, I'm pretty sure, the most books I've read in a very long time. I think my best for last year was 18, and that was during a graphic novel readathon. But with my current job, I am able to listen to audiobooks for basically 6 hours. So I have read a lot of audiobooks this month. There's only 3 books on this list that were not audiobooks, 1 hardcover and 2 paperbacks. So hopefully I'll be able to keep this energy going for the rest of the year. So I will get a lot of reading done. And also, granted, like 7 of them were between 150 and 200 pages. So there were some short ones in there as well. But if we keep this energy going, I'll be reading a lot. But anyways, I'm gonna stop rambling and we're gonna jump straight into this because otherwise this video is gonna be 10 hours. So I'll go in order that I read the books. So first off, we have This Lie Will Kill You by Chelsea Pitcher. This one was a YA thriller and it was quite enjoyable. There was a couple things I didn't like about it. At sometimes it was a little bit slower paced, but it definitely had a dark, thrilling vibe and I enjoyed that about it. I ended up rating it 3.5 stars. But I also, it's one of those books that were kind of forgettable to me. After I read it, I kind of forgot everything about it. So it was one of those type books. So I rated it 3.5, probably give it a 3 for that, but I've rated it 3.5. So next, I finally read Godstorm by Coco Ma, but I do not have it with me because it was in a little bit of an accident. There was water on a table. Well, actually, it was on the table already and there was water on it, and yeah, when I went to pick it up to film this video, I discovered it. So luckily it's only been like half an hour since that water got there, but it is currently drying. So this is the second book in a duology, the first book being Shadowfrost, which I absolutely loved. It was another one I listened to on audiobook when I first listened to it. It was, Godstorm was on my list of 21 books to read in 2021, but I never got around to doing it. I ended up not enjoying Godstorm as much as I did Shadowfrost. I think Shadowfrost was a lot stronger. And also I feel like book 2 was a lot slower paced, I think, than book 1 was. And I'm technically someone that goes for fast paced books. So that let it down for me. I ended up rating it 3 stars. So still not bad. It was still a good book, but it just wasn't as good as the first book. And the first book was amazing. And also the covers are stunning. So, you know, it's got that going for it. So next we have a book that was on my 22 books to read in 2022 list, and that was Day Zero by Kelly DeVos. This one is a sci-fi, but ooh, nearly dropped my phone, but borderline dystopian feeling. This one was full of twists and turns. I really enjoyed it. The world was really vivid. It gave me kind of the similar feel to Emily Suvada's The Bliss Mortal Coil. It gave me similar vibes to that, and I love that book. It's one of my favorite series. So I really enjoyed this one. I will definitely be continuing. I just couldn't get the second book on audiobook at the time, but I will definitely continue the series at some point. It does have some kind of mixed media, like there's emailing backwards and forwards and stuff like that, which I tend to enjoy on audiobook rather than physically reading it, because I feel like when I'm physically reading it, it kind of takes me out of the experience when I have to read the character's name, what they read the character's name, you know, whereas when it's on audiobook, it just changes voice. So it works a lot better for me. But ended up rating this one 3.5 stars, and yes, we'll definitely be continuing once I can get a hold of that second book. Next, we have my first physical read of the month, and that was You'll Be the Death of Me by Karen M. McManus. I love Karen M. McManus's writing. There's not a book of hers that I've read that, actually I think I've read them all, that I do not like, and this one was no exception. This book also was set in a very small time period. I believe it was 1 day, I think it was set over, but it was definitely high stakes, thrilling. I really enjoyed it. I don't think it's as good as, what's her first book called? One of Us is Lying. I think that's still her standout, but I did still really enjoy it and ended up rating it 4 stars. So back to audiobooks, and the next 4 are all from the same author. So firstly, we have The Marlowe Murder Club, which is a 2021 release. I think 21, yes. And it popped up my Scribd. It sounded really interesting. It's about this older lady who decides to try and solve a crime. It gave me, you know, Agatha Christie, Hercule Poirot vibes, also like Miss Marple vibes, and I'm really for that. Also, Robert Thorogood is the screenwriter, I believe, for Death in Paradise, which is a really popular TV show, which is a murder mystery based. So had to have a go, and I actually really enjoyed The Marlowe Murder Club. It was probably the best out of the 4 of his that I did read, and it was just so much fun, especially like it's a group of older ladies and they were just like having the time of their life trying to solve this murder, like standing up to these blokes, not even giving a shit. And it was fabulous. I really enjoyed it, and Mum's actually read it since and she enjoyed it as well. So yeah, I need to read more books about grandmas, because the last 2 that I've read in the last like couple months, actually 3 technically, one was a sequel, but they've all been amazing. So I need to read more books about grandmas. So then we have 3 books in Robert Thorogood's Death in Paradise series, and I believe these follow after the TV show, I think. But either way, they're kind of along the same lines as Agatha Christie's Hercule Poirot, where you can read them out of order and it really wouldn't matter. So I read 3, but I'm not 100% sure if I read them correctly, because according to Goodreads, A Meditation of Murder is the first one, The Killing of Polly Carter is the second one, then there's a third book, and then number 4 is Murder in the Caribbean. And when I was on Scribd reading them, I read Meditation of Murder, The Murder of Polly Carter, and then it came up as the next book as Murder in the Caribbean. And it says book 3. It wasn't just like they didn't have book 3 at the time, so they just put you on to the next one. It said it was book 3. So I really don't know, but there is a 4th one, but I couldn't find an audiobook for it anyway. I tried on Scribd, I tried on Audible, couldn't find it. So I read the 3 that I could, but I don't actually know if that's the correct order or not, or whether Murder in the Caribbean is number 3 and the 4th one I can't find it because it's not out yet. I really don't know. But I read and enjoyed A Meditation of Murder, The Murder of Polly Carter, and Murder in the Caribbean. I rated them all 4 stars. They were all really enjoyable, and they had these little bits of humor throughout them. The start of one of the books, a freaking bird shits in his tea. Just like, it's one of the first lines, and I just cracked up when I was listening to it. So it's got these like weird bits of humor in it as well, which I actually really enjoyed. Rated them all 4 stars. Recommend. I don't know what order the books are in though, so have fun. Next was another physical, and that was All These Bodies by Kendra Blake. This was another book that was on my 22 books to read in 2022 list, and I didn't end up loving this one as much as I thought I was going to. It was very intriguing. I know I haven't said synopsis for any of the others, but this one basically follows this bloke who is the son of a cop, and there's a murder in this town. At the murder scene, a young girl is found literally covered in blood, but she won't tell anyone who did it. It wasn't her, but she won't tell anyone who the bloke was that did it. There is a paranormal aspect in this one as well, but the young bloke who is the son of the cop, he ends up kind of befriending her, and she starts telling him her story, but still won't reveal who this bloke is. So it's basically him trying to convince her to tell him, but also she won't. But then if she doesn't, she's going to get convicted for murder because they have no other suspects. Like, it had to have been her. She was there. I didn't end up enjoying it as much as I thought it was going to. It was very, very slow. It was a lot of sitting down, talking type situations. There wasn't much. There was mystery, but I don't know, I just felt like I wasn't captivated by it. So I ended up rating it 3.5 stars. I still enjoyed the book, but it's not as good as other mysteries I've read. And I believe this was her first into mystery. So she has some growing to do, I guess, in that respect, for me anyway. But yeah, still a good book, recommend it, but just prepare it is a bit slow. So next we have All of These, which is the entire of the Wayward Children series by Shauna Maguire that is out. So Where the Drowned Girls Go released this year, and obviously I had to read it, so I had to reread these in order to read this one. I won't talk about all these. Everyone knows Every Heart a Doorway. I really enjoy all of them. I'll tell you the ratings. So Every Heart a Doorway, 4.5 stars. Down Among the Sticks and Bones, 4 stars, which is probably my least favorite of them. Beneath the Sugar Sigh, 4.5 stars. It's probably my favorite. Well, that and the first book. In an Absent Dream, 4 stars. Come Tumbling Down, 4.5 stars. Across the Green Fast Fields, 4 stars. And Where the Drowned Girls Go, 4.5 stars. So this one I actually really, really enjoyed. I'm not going to go into the details about the entire series, but basically portal fantasies and what happens when the child comes back from a portal fantasy and how they deal with that. But this one is about one of the characters, and they have gone through some trauma and no longer want to deal with the doorways. So they end up being transferred against Eleanor West's wishes, really. So she ends up being transferred to the Whitethorn Institute, believing that this is going to fix all her problems because she'll learn how to forget about the worlds. But things are not all they appear. This one deals with a lot deeper topics than I feel like some of the other ones have. This one deals with some fat phobia as well as trauma pretty well. Considering 143 pages, it deals with a lot in this book. Really love it. This one's probably the most closest in feel to the first book because it's set in the school, not in one of the magical worlds. So I did like that aspect about it because I love Every Heart a Doorway. I really enjoyed that about it, but yes, I did read this one, and I will leave all the reviews for everything linked down below. So next we have the other physical book that I read, and that is The Last Legacy by Adrienne Young. And who was going to tell me that this wasn't the third book to Fable? It's set in the same world, but it's a companion. It's about a different character. We never even hear about Fable. We hear about other characters, but never hear about Fable. This one was not what I was expecting, for one thing, because I went into it thinking it was a third book. So I was very disappointed when we had another random character, but she was fine, but it wasn't Fable. So it was a little bit disorientating when I picked it up. But I definitely think this one is my least favorite out of this world's books, Fable, Namesake, and The Last Legacy. I really, really love Fable, and I love the abilities and the being on the ocean, all that stuff. I love the crew, but this one followed a very different ball game. It was following a different character who was in the family of the Roths. If you've read Fable, you'll probably know who they are. Yeah, it was a family member of those, and basically her trying to deal with being a family member of those. And also I feel like the ending was kind of underwhelming, in my opinion. Like, there was all this build up, and then there was kind of like one little thing, and then that was it. Whereas I felt like it was building up to something, but the something never happened. It was very kind of like anticlimactic at the end. I rated it 3.5 stars. It was still a good read, but definitely not on the ball game of Fable, that's for sure. So then I read another book by Chelsea Pitcher, who was the author of This Lie Will Kill You, the first book I read this month, and that was Lies Like Poison, which was another YA mystery, but I did not enjoy this one compared to These Lies Will Kill You. Like, well, I mean, that one I rated 3.5 stars, so it wasn't like the best, but I still enjoyed it fair bit. This one ended up rating 2.5 stars, but I found it very long-winded and kind of boring at times. It was definitely on the slower paced side, and I found myself bored sometimes. And it was a lot of backwards and forwards of doing like the same shit, and it was kind of, well, discussing the same shit. Because we follow the 3 point of view, and the same things were kind of reiterated with each of the points of view, which, yes, sure, those characters would all each individually be thinking about that thing, but it got very repetitive and kind of bland for the reader, in my opinion. So yeah, I ended up rating it 3.5 stars, 2.5 stars, definitely not as good as This Lie Will Kill You, but still, it wasn't horrible. It's just, it was kind of bland. And the next three I'll talk to you about together as well, and that is the 3 books in the Cassidy Blake series by V.E. Schwab: City of Ghosts, Tunnel of Bones, and Bridge of Souls. So I rated them all 4 stars, but I think this is the kind of series that got not worse, but like not as good towards the end. Like, the first book was really strong. I really enjoyed it. The second book and the third book were kind of like the same thing over again. It was slightly repetitive. Like, obviously there was new shit happening. There was a different like villain character, but it was like the same type of thing over again. So I did really enjoy it. Like I said, I rated it 4 stars. I had fun reading it. I enjoyed Cassidy. I did not particularly enjoy Jacob. Is that his name? He pissed me off multiple times. I don't know if that was deliberate, like that's how he's written, or whether it was just me, but I did not particularly like him as a character. But I did enjoy Cassidy and the other girl, the British one. Fuck, what was her name? I can't remember, but yeah, her. I really enjoyed the two girls, but yeah, didn't love Jacob so much, but it is what it is. You can't love everyone. That is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what your favorite book was that you read in January. Mine was definitely Where the Drowned Girls Go, not including rereads, because otherwise every heart would away. But not including rereads, Where the Drowned Girls Go was definitely my favorite. So let me know in the comments what yours was, and that is it for now, and I will talk to you in my next video.